Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Early Edge UFC 316 preview show brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. And wow, what a card we have on this 316 lineup. O'Malley versus Dvalishvili 2, Harrison versus Pena, bantamweight titles are on the line. And I've got two great guests to break down this fight card with me. Some new faces on the Early Edge UFC preview show. I'm joined by Brian Campbell, BC, and Claudia Bellofatto. Claudia, you might have recognized her from NBC Sports. You've seen her on MLB Network. Big fan of your work over there. And now we're privileged to have you here on CBS. Pleasure to be here with you. What do you think of this fight card, Claudia?
Oh, man, it's so good. I struggled. I went back and forth in so many of these picks, though, because there's so much talent and so many heavy favorites. I was trying to put together some parlays and I was only getting to like 2-1. So I think good talent. So some good live dogs, but certainly a lot of heavy favorites on here.
Some hefty favorites here. We'll have to find some value. I got BC Brian Campbell to do that with me as well. You know him from as a co-host of Morning Combat, of course, and just fight game extraordinaire. The guy's been in the game. I love your work post-fight with Lamont Roach and Tank Davis. Thought you did a masterful job with that interview. And boxing analyst as well. BC, what are you looking forward to most on this fight card?
Bantamweights are certainly getting the feature on both the men's and women's sides in the title fights, but also on that main card with Patchy Mix dropping in the UFC's lap. PFL didn't know what to do with him, the former Bellator MMA champion, a guy we argued that was maybe the best fighter not in the UFC. Well, now he's here. He's got a tough matchup, so I want to see how quickly he can jump into the deep end of that bantamweight pool.
A guy that Merab Dvalishvili once said who would be his toughest matchup, Patchy Mix. So definitely looking forward to that debut and looking forward to getting into all the picks that we've got from these esteemed guests. Let's kick it off with the prelims. Claudia, I'm going to go with you first. You're looking for violence to kick off this card. What's your favorite bet on the prelims?
Of course, we're going with violence. We're going to go with Joshua Van and Bruno Silva to not go the distance. I like this price around -110. Talking about those heavy favorites, Van is a very heavy favorite here. And I know a lot of his fights end in decision, so that might make you hesitant about this play. But I see him finishing this early by purely wearing Silva down. He's had plenty of activity, therefore momentum since debuting in 2023. He has the age advantage, 13 years younger. The strike rate is unbelievable, the best in the sport, averaging 8.1 strikes landed a minute. The next closest is 5. It's not even close. And he has that power. He has that finishing ability with those 6 knockouts. On the flip side, if somehow, according to the odds, Silva wins, I like this bet even more because of his track record. When he wins early. He's 4-1 in his last 5, ending early in every single win. And if you look at the flyweight stats, he's 4th in finishes, 3rd in KO, TKO wins, and top 5 in shortest fight time. So regardless of who wins, if the books are right with the heavy favorite, we'll see Van listed at -700. Or if there's an upset, I just don't see it going the distance here.
I love this play. I love the breakdown on it too. Joshua Van is an absolute dog, 23-year-old who brings fire to all of his fights. And I think, like you said, the implication is that he likely gets the finish. If not, you got the upside with Silva, maybe to get a knockout one-hitter quitter. BC, what's your favorite pick on the prelim card?
Look, I'm looking at light heavyweight Azamat Murzakanov, excuse me for the struggling pronunciation there. You may be seeing this guy going 36 from Russia, but is it too late to see the best of him? No, you're seeing the best of him right now. He's 14-0 overall, but most importantly here, 10 career stoppage wins in 14 fights, including 5 of his last 6. I like him to not only win big against Brenson Ribeiro, a fighter who I just think he's a higher class above, but I even think he can do it in the first round at +125 money. Look, Ribeiro is riding a 2-fight win streak, but it's come against almost dreadful competition, and he was flatlined in his last, I don't know if you want to call it a step-up fight, but against Mingyang Zhang last year in round 1. So certainly somebody to look at. Murzakanov is 5-0 in combined UFC and Dana White Contender Series fights. He dropped the bomb with a big overhand right in his Dana White Contender Series debut to get on the map. The buzz is building pretty slow for this guy, but if you look over the steps he's taken to get to this point, he can strike, he's heavy-handed, and he gets after it. I think we're going to be talking a little bit more about Murzakanov as he continues to climb this ladder.
The professional, Azamat Murzakanov. Yeah, I think he fights like his nickname says. Very technical with it. I like the pick here for him to pick apart his opponent in the first round. All right, guys, one more bet on the prelims I have to cover. That's mine. I'm going with the polar bear, Sergey Spivak, on the money line at -135. And I got to be honest, this is a tough fight to call. I wrestled with this one, but that's exactly what I'm hoping for out of Sergey Spivak, for him to bring that wrestling early on. This is a classic stylistic clash. It's boxer versus grappler. And Acosta can fight smart behind that jab, but he was taken down 3 times by an unranked heavyweight in Marcus Rogerio de Lima, who was able to stay on top of him. And he is 6-1 in the UFC, but I feel his wins are over lower tier competition mostly. Rogerio de Lima representing one loss that I feel is not up to the par of grappling that Spivak can do. He can chain wrestle. That single leg is tough. And if he gets him to the mat, that arm triangle is live. He's smothering with his top pressure. So I think Acosta will get taken down. And once he's on the mat, he may struggle. But I think it's a tough fight to call. We'll have some more discussion on this fight, and hopefully one style can win out, the grappling style, that is, for my Spivak bet. But maybe there'll be some dissenting opinions. We shall see. Let's move forward to our favorite prop bets of the night. And BC, let's go back to you. This is a fighter that had a lot of hype coming in and now maybe died out a bit. What do you think for your favorite prop?
Yeah, 33-year-old Wang Tong came in the 125-pound women's division with that reputation of a great kickboxing background, having defeated Valentina Shevchenko back in 2015, before the big move into MMA there and the big success that she's had. But it's been up and down. She came on the scene. She calls herself the Joker, puts on that makeup in the weigh-in, intimidates her opponents. And while her UFC debut did give us a brutal knockout, something you typically don't see in the UFC women's game, she got humbled in her second fight against Gabriela Fernandez, losing by second-round submission, just really kind of imploding after getting off to a hot start. She's got a bounce-back pick in this fight right here against Ariane De Silva, formerly Ariane Lipski. And I just think the quality of the competition is really what sets her apart. The key here is I'm going to go by decision. Even though Wang Tong is a better striker and is the kind of striker that can get you out of there, I think she's fighting a little bit safer. We saw that in her bounce back victory after that submission loss. She came out so guns blazing to start her UFC career. And really, as you see her moniker there that she does every weigh-in, really tried to sell herself as a character who's maybe 2-3 wins away from getting in there against the great Shevchenko. It's going to take her a little bit longer here. And I think the reason, the onus behind me going with this dominant win for her is that De Silva, yes, she's got experience. Yes, she's fought good names, but she's on a 2-fight losing skid. She's also been stopped in 4 of her 7 UFC defeats. I know I'm saying going the distance here. I just think the combination of that safer striking approach from Wang Tong will give her another victory as she continues to climb this ladder in the only UFC women's division with any kind of depth here at women's flyweight.
Interesting angle, right? You got to build yourself as a fighter, maybe some caution, maybe a tactical approach instead of going for the all-out finish. Sometimes the fighters that hype themselves up the most end up being decision point fighters, right? It's sort of part of the mind game. So maybe that's in the cards for BC's prop bet. Claudia, you also have a take on the Spivak fight. Tell me what you're going with.
Yeah, I love this 5-way market. It feels like cheating sometimes. I'm like, I get knockout, TKO, DQ, and submission, and plus money, plus 175. You talked a lot about sort of the approach here with Spivak. It's interesting to see that he's the smallest favorite on the board. We're talking about these minus 700s, these minus 300, 400. He's the smallest favorite. And I think that's because we know Acosta's game plan. If he can keep the fight on its feet, he'll probably stretch this thing out and probably get the win with his striking edge. But we know Spivak is going to look to do the exact opposite because that's what he's one of the best at in this heavyweight class. Best takedown accuracy rate in heavyweight history. 15 of his 17 wins have come inside the distance too. You pair that with Acosta's, I guess we can call it weakness of suspect defensive wrestling. That bodes well for Spivak. And the best way to get him out is to knock him out. And I don't have a ton of confidence in Acosta to do that in terms of consistency. He doesn't really have that when it comes to power. You look at the last 4 wins for him, they buy submission or TKO for Spivak. You can get plus 250 or plus 550. Or you can do what I'm doing, go with the 5-way market. You can get both outcomes at plus 175, get a little wiggle room there.
Spivak inside the distance here, and I got to like it. Obviously, I'm rolling with the same side. Actually, Claudia, funny enough, I believe Acosta-Cortez has a baseball background, and he does have that overhand right that he pitches, right, like a fastball. Yep. If he swings one of those and misses, I could see him getting taken down and ending up on his back. So that's what I'm looking for, and so are you, with that inside the distance prop. I'm going with Joe Pyfer to get the win inside the distance as well. Man, this guy coming out of Renzo Gracie, Philly, is a nasty fighter on the rise. He's got huge power in his right hand, left hook combination. And he trains with Sean Brady and Pat Sabatini, jiu-jitsu aces over there who have put him on the game, right? I mean, now he's lacing up arm triangles. He's got a nasty squeeze on his chokeholds. And Sean Brady beat Kelvin Gastelum in thorough fashion. He submitted him late. Brady's one of his best buds. I think he gave him the game plan most likely, right? Gastelum, all-action fighter. He's used to be one of my favorite fighters back in the day. He's fought all the best middleweights, put on an all-time fight against Israel Adesanya. Go back and watch that one. He's got a hell of a chin on him, and he's got good Mexican boxing, right? That pressure style. But at this point, man, only 33 years old. I think he's a lot older in fight years. He's a little bit worse for the wear. This will be his 24th UFC fight, and I don't know if that legendary chin can hold up to the physicality and power of Piper. So I'm taking Piper to put him away inside the distance and then keep on moving up in this weight class. All right, guys, let's get some plus money going. Let's put together some parlays. We have some interesting ones here. BC, I'll kick it off with you. You got a three-legger, three very interesting fights to touch on. What are you going with?
It might seem a little boring here, taking all favorites and all winners here, but you get plus 135 on this if you look at the top of this card and take who's favored. Merab Dvalishvili in a fight, and we're going to talk about at length, but is really a close fight considering everything Sean O'Malley has done and has revealed of what went wrong the first meeting at the Sphere last year. I want to package the Merab win with a Kayla Harrison win. She's highly favored in that co-main event against the two-time champion Juliana Pena to finally climb the hill in the UFC and fulfill her great hope and potential, even though that weight cut is certainly something to watch. And how about Patchy Mix, as we said, making that debut, bringing his 7-fight win streak against a guy who's also on a 7-fight win streak in Mario Bautista. It's just that Bautista hasn't fought the same level of competition. And people really don't like that boring fight he had edging out Jose Aldo, the legend, last time out. You package those three together, you're going to get some plus money there. Go and chalk on that, but I'm safe and content that at the top of the card, these three can get it done.
I ain't mad at a chalk parlay that you feel good about, right? Claudia, you got a two-legger to go with, and it's in one fight. I'm expecting violence in this fight, too. So what are you going with?
I was going to say, if you're not mad at him for doing all chalk, hopefully you don't mind me going even money and calling it, a plus money parlay, but it's fine. We're going to go Kevin Holland to win in over 1.5 rounds against Vicente Luque. And I know people, it's not sexy. Okay. He's 2-4 over his last 6 fights. I know there's inconsistency when it comes to style, when it comes to results, when it comes to going back and forth with the weight classes. But you look at this reach advantage, you look at the size advantage. We're talking 6'3" versus 5'11", 81 reach versus 75'5". And Luque just can't take punches like he used to. So I think if Holland can really just go back to fundamentals, lean on his size, lean on his skill, take advantage of what he does best, he'll win. And I see it happening around the third. Get those long punches in early. The 1-2 combination we know is lethal from him. Beat him down from the clinch. Use mobility specifically here because Luque is a bit more flat-footed. That being said, for this bet specifically, Luque will keep it competitive, I think, with the striking accuracy at a 51% clip right now. So I think the skills on both sides are going to extend beyond what the market has this lined at with 1.5 rounds. But if Holland shows up with his best stuff, I think we get great value on him. Again, not a crazy, output with this parlay around even money, but I still see it as good value.
You guys got to even money. Mine is even
Kevin Holland's
here.
tough. It's tough to bet on Kevin Holland. It's so feast
I
or
know. I
famine
said
with this guy.
it's scary and it's not sexy, BC. I told you that. I know.
This is welterweight Holland, though, guys.
That's
He's a
true.
different beast at 170. I swear. And you mentioned it, Claudia, the 1-2 that it can hit you from across the cage. That thing is insane. I agree with you. Luque, he's been able to go back to his grappling to successfully bounce back, but that Joaquin Buckley loss is staying in my mind. He kind of just shelled up on the ground after a couple weird punches that didn't even look like they landed all that clean. So I'm with you. I'm not sure he can get into another barroom brawl like he's used to. And if Holland hits him hard, it may be over. But you're going with this fight to extend over 1.5 as well. Holland to win plus money. Guys, I'm going with the chalk bomb here. I didn't even get to plus money on my parlay. I'm going minus 114. But we talked about one of these fights, and really the theme here on both of these is the implication is domination. I'm going with the spread market instead, and spread betting is one of my favorite ways to bet UFC, especially in 2025. It's really reinvented my betting approach, I'd say. Van, we talked about, Claudia mentioned, the kid is all action. He's coming forward. He's looking for a finish. I think if he doesn't get the finish, he's dominating every round. And what this spread implies is that he needs to win a dominant decision to cover 3.5 combined rounds on the judges' scorecards. I'm going to pair that with a Korean prospect fighting on the prelims, Ju Sang-yu. You got to watch out for this guy, man. I think he's slick. He's shown me cardio, toughness, and a well-rounded skill set already. I like how he moves. He's already fought on the Korean Zombies promotion over in Korea, and he showed out some pretty good skill set, man. I think that Jekka Saragi, his opponent, is close to a 0 on the ground. And if you wants to put it on the floor, I think you can find a submission. So you take two huge juice favorites at minus 600, you play them on the spreads, you knock off 400 points in value, and you can get to minus 114. Claudia, like we said, not sexy, but I'm looking for green check marks. So I think we got some winners here. Hopefully we can hit you some responsible parlays. All right, guys, speaking of parlays, speaking of ways to make more money and boost it up, check out what BetMGM's got going on. Get an MMA boost this weekend on BetMGM. If you're a BetMGM account holder, you're going to receive an MMA odds boost token this Friday and Saturday. To get the boost, make an MMA bet and activate the token. We need like a Mortal Kombat voice. Activate the token. If you win your MMA wager, you will receive extra winnings. Boost it up, guys. Get on BetMGM, make some plays, use that boost token. All right, guys, maybe you want to use it on a dog and boost it up big time because we got some underdogs to talk about. This is a fight that I really wrestled with. So I'm going to kick it off with Claudia. Who are you liking for your favorite dog on this card?
I'm looking at Mark Chewinski at plus 165 against Markel Medeiros. And I know that this is, again, maybe a risky bet because there's a lot of unknown here with Chewinski making his debut. But we know he has quality coaching. We know he has quality training. We know the wrestling background is there. He has good timing with the takedowns. A finish rate of 76%, 6 submissions, a knockout, all first-round finishes. So he's coming out early. He's finishing early. As long as he sticks to his style, which we never know if it's going to translate, right? But it's worked well so far against some solid strikers too, then he's a live dog here. It's tough. It was definitely a tough cap because it's such a contrast of styles, right? Chewinski, slow pace, steady, and that's how he wins. And then you have Medeiros, who doesn't stop moving, and he applies constant pressure, and he looks like a windshield wiper going back and forth. So I think when it comes to this and pricing this, the books don't know necessarily how to price Chewinski yet. But as long as he can set the pace, I do think he can win it. And again, it's priced at plus 165 for a reason, but I do think there's some value with him there. Part of the unknown. It can go one of two ways, guys.
He's kind of got that dog in him. I think he's live too. I think it's pretty simple. If this fight is clean, it's a Medeiros fight. If it's ugly, it's a Chewinski fight. So I'm still trying to figure out how to pronounce his name too. But I like
it. Yeah.
We tried our best, right? BC, you have a dissenting opinion on the Spivak Costa Cortez fight. Give it to me.
I love Waldo Cortez Acosta as an underdog here on the money line at plus 25. And I know everything you guys said. I know the logic of puncher versus wrestler who has more experience, more elite wins. But here's the deal, guys. Heavyweight is a flaming dumpster fire of a mess at all times, right? There's like 2.5 elite fighters historically at any time in the division right now. I mean, what do we got now? Aspinall. We got John Jones in Thailand on the back of a motorcycle. Who knows if he's going to fight again? And you got Cyril Gane, right? Everybody else, you sort of put them in one of two categories. Guys that are kind of good and guys that are awful. On paper, I know you're saying, well, isn't Waldo Cortez Acosta on the lower half? Isn't Spivak on the upper? Yes, but I believe this has potential to be one of those crossroads fights. What I mean by this is, look, heavyweights can fluctuate high and low. Look at Andrei Arlovsky over the last decade. We'll count him out after 3 straight losses. He'll come back with a couple big wins. You can really find parity in there. And I think Waldo Cortez Acosta at age 33 here out of Dominican Republic is riding a nice hot streak, the salsa boy. He's 4-0 in his last 4 with 2 KOs. His only pro defeat came against, as you mentioned, Marcos Rogeria Lima, but it was 29-28 in all 3 scorecards. And even though, yes, he gave up takedowns, it was really the calf kicks that gave him the most trouble in that fight. I've seen him evolve since that in the 4 wins, including the knockout wins. And when you're looking at Spivak, I think right now, yes, he's 30 years old. Heavyweights age late. Could I see him putting together another run? Yes. But right now he's down. He's lost 2 of his last 3, both by stoppage TKO against, yes, upper crust guys like Jalton Almeida and Cyril Gane. But Spivak's just 4-3 since 2021 overall. And I do feel like there's a ceiling to his true ability. I don't believe he's the type of guy that's going to get in there and upset the elites. He's like a lot of heavyweights in UFC. They can do 1.5 skills, right? And that sort of bottoms out. The thing I like about Cortez Acosta on this win streak is the confidence. He believes in his power. Not a lot of people know this guy was a pro boxer as well. Won 6 of his 10 fights, has that pro baseball experience, as you mentioned, in the DR. There's also some footage of him out there in some base brawls, throwing big right hands. Maybe that's not going to help him in the cage this time around, but the guy can bang. And when you're riding a 4-fight win streak and you're getting some stoppages in there, the confidence raises up. I think if he can control distance, obviously keeping his back off the mat is a big part of this, but if he can control that distance and use those looping right hands, I think he can slow down the pace of this fight and get a win with that striking at plus 125. There's a lot of fat guys in the UFC heavyweight division, short fat guys, right? He's one of them. But this is the good one. Okay, this is the good one. So ride him right now.
If he can get up off the mat, we'll see. We'll see, BC. And I will say, just imagine playing baseball and picking a fight with the one guy that you should not pick a fight with.
I'm now all that's playing in my head is Jose Ramirez knocking Tim Anderson down with that overhand right.
Yes.
What if that was Waldo? Oh my goodness. Well, looks
how
like
about Chan-Ho Park with the karate in there that time. You remember that, right?
Man, baseball got some fighters in them. Yeah. Some crossover and skills that we would have never expected. But I think fair points. I keep asking myself, Claudia, why are the odds so close? Why isn't Spivak closer to a minus 200 with the caliber of opponents he's faced versus the Jared Vanderas and Chase Shermans of the world that Acosta's facing? But he has greatly improved. He can defend low kicks now. We'll see if he can defend the takedowns against a good wrestler. But it looks like BC is on one side. Claudia and I are on other guys. You might not be familiar with the early edge, but quick draw, get your guns up. This is the Wild West, Ben. It's going to be a showdown. It's going to be a showdown. Usually that means that it cues like a side bet, but we don't have to officially, but it's just a good time.
I was going to say side bet, or this is where we can go spread. So I don't know if I would bet Acosta straight up, but maybe I don't know what the spread is. I don't know if we can look at that now, but maybe that's just me being soft.
You think this fight could go the whole way, and we're looking at a spread situation where you need the judges' scorecards involved?
Yeah, I think if you're sort of teetering in the middle, like we talked about, with not knowing maybe how far it goes, not knowing maybe why this price is a little bit steeper, if we're playing off where the sharp money's going, then I think maybe just taking the points might be the smartest, going with the spread. Yeah, for
sure, man. UFC line movement can be perplexing lately. Like, a lot of the closing line value has just lost crazy, right? So the line cranks, look out for it late news. Fight day weigh-ins are tomorrow, so weight misses and the such, look for lines moving closer to fight night. But guys, we have some of the big ticket fights to talk about still. We got through the dogs. It's time for the co-main event of the evening. Women's bantamweight strap is on the line. And BC, I'm going to kick it off with you. What are you expecting out of this matchup?
I'm expecting Kayla Harrison dominance without question. She's a monster favorite coming in here against Juliana Pena, who I'm very critical of, even though she's a two-time champion. Why? Because this division has seen better days, and I mean way better days. And unfortunately, I do believe Pena gets a lot of fights because she can talk, even though she takes a lot of time off. Look at her elite wins. I don't think she beat Rocky Pennington last time by split decision in one of the worst women's title fights we've ever seen. And even though she's known for that big upset against Amanda Nunes, we have to be realistic about the fact that Nunes did not have a full camp, was injured, was coming off a bad battle with COVID. What happened when she got healthy? 50-43 is what happened. But even though the odds are so big in Harrison's favor, and even though ultimately I do like her by submission at plus 125, there are some wrinkles to this matchup that get me friggin' nervous. And you guys know that. Harrison fought or performed in the Olympics in judo at 171 pounds, won 2 gold medals, was a 2-time PFL champion at 155 pounds. This weight cut to 135 is almost inhumane for her. Yes, she's 2-0 so far, but she admitted to urinating blood in the hospital days before her last fight. She says she has to train twice a day, run 6 miles a day just to have a chance to make this cut. She's a professional. She's a athletic freak on the Brock Lesnar 1-of-1 level. I know she's going to make weight, but I think the real question is, when you look at Pena and her total elite skills, they really only amount, in my opinion, to stamina and toughness. What does this look like in rounds 4 or 5 if it gets there? Luckily, I don't think it does. I like Harrison to get the submission win. I like it in the middle of the fight, right around round 3, because I do think that's where she could end up having trouble down the stretch, because Pena is such a dog in there, even though she doesn't have great skills. But when you match them up and when you're going to give Harrison 15 minutes over those first 3 rounds to do what she does best, which is take you down, grind you down, elbow you in the face, and try to set you up for that submission, whether it's an armbar, which she scored 3 of them, rear naked choke, head and arm triangle. I think Harrison's just too strong, too tough, too motivated. She's going to have to get it done in the first half in my mind, but I do think she can do that.
You're looking for an absolute mauling by Harrison, but I love the point about late in the fight, right? Her physicality can work against her in this 5-rounder if it goes late. And we know, I heard you talk about earlier, her Pena's awkward boxing, awkward yet effective boxing, right? This weird scrappiness that keeps her in fights. Her skill sets don't quite seem up to par with the champs and the high caliber fighters of this division, but she finds a way to be competitive and be champion right now and hold the belt, Claudia. So what are you expecting? Does Pena have a chance, or are you expecting Kayla Harrison to put her away as well?
Yeah, and BC, it sounds like you'd be with me. I was looking at the other market on rounds under 4.5. You can get some plus money, but I am going Harrison to win by submission. Everything that BC just said. Yes, Pena is battle tested. Yes, she has the cardio. And if it does go into late rounds, I do see her likely winning. But Harrison, when she is 100%, we'll have to see how this weight drop affects her, 3 fights in. But she overwhelms with her physicality. She's bigger, she's stronger, she's a better wrestler. 7 of her overall wins have come by submission. So to get this price feels pretty good. You look what she did to Holly Holm in that debut with a submission in the 2nd round. I know she wasn't thrilled with the performance against Vieira, but she still got that unanimous decision. She's talked about heading into this fight, getting that striking going early, which of course isn't her strong suit. That's not what she's known for, but she gets that going early. She can mix those levels with the takedowns and then continue to do what she does best with that ground and pound. So I think to get her to win by submission, bring that juice all the way down from where it is on the money line at minus 750 is pretty good value.
And one thing to add here, if I could jump in, Pena's 2 losses on the super elite level before the Amanda Nunes fights against former champion Jermaine Durandamy and Valentina Shevchenko, both submission losses.
That was just what I was going to mention, is that as you guys are talking, I'm starting to sweat my pick. And I'm feeling like this is the most likely outcome, is that Harrison sub. But somewhere in my mind, I'm seeing this fight go long. Somewhere in my head, I think that it could be domination. It could be a mauling against the cage, those chippy little elbows against the fence, short shots, hammer fists, getting on top. I think Pena's aggression and her noteworthy, just like kind of dog and tough, ruggedness can work against her against a judo player. You run in overzealous, you're going to get hip tossed right on your back. So that's my worry, is that if it goes downhill really early, it might go downhill really fast for Juliana Pena. And I'm hoping that she could scrap it out for the first 3 rounds. And like BC said, maybe be competitive in those late rounds, maybe see a cardio drop off for Kayla Harrison, but knowing she's up a couple rounds or so, play it safe. Maybe she starts the fight playing it safe, knowing she's got to go the distance with a really tough fighter. So we always see kind of those jitters in championship fights, and the smack talk has me a little worried because Harrison may put a hurting on her, like she said, but I like this championship bout to go the whole way, and I'm going to sweat bullets while it does. So we shall see. All right, guys, co-main event is complete. It's time to talk about the main event of the evening. And let's start with Claudia. I absolutely love your bet. Tell me about how you're betting this main event.
Yeah, you talked about these spreads. I love this as well. Sean O'Malley. I think a lot of people are on Sean's side and they see value on the money line. I just want a little room to breathe here. You, of course, look at that first fight, which he kept competitive despite the injured hip, and he certainly came out flat. But I think what we have to look at and really focus on is the fact that it went the distance and he won the most important round, which says a lot about what we can expect if the hip, and I'm curious to see what you guys think, if we think that the hip is 100%. But the fact that he was able to keep up with the pace that Merab set, he wasn't not completely gassed, but he actually won that 5th round with it, which I think is huge. So if the elite footwork comes back, which we didn't really see in that first fight, but we know he has, he can set the pace. He's the better striker, as we know, when he's healthy. In that first fight, even, he outstruck Merab 45-29 from distance. He has that slight age advantage, 4 years younger. He has the 4-inch reach advantage. And we know that Merab wins by tiring guys out with the cardio, with the ground game. So I think as long as O'Malley can avoid the mat as much as possible, I do think he's a live dog. But again, I'm going to take that 5.5 because that way I can watch a little bit more comfortably.
Love the spreads. Like I said, so many times you're screaming at the judges. You're just furious with this weird scorecards, and you're perplexed by the scoring. The spreads can save you. Actually, either way, right? Sometimes you get the robbery, sometimes the robbery against you. But this way, if O'Malley wins a 48-47, Claudia's cashing the ticket.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, a lot of people disagreed on that 3rd round in that first fight as well. So as much wiggle room as I can give myself, that's what I'm going to go with.
Which was a very decisive round. BC 48-47 scorecards. The narrative seems like Merab controlled him, dominated him. Yet Chris Lee and Sal D'Amato, Sorry, I just shivered saying those names. Both scored it a 1-round differential. It's like saying Beetlejuice in the mirror 3. Just don't do it, right? Sal Diamato. I won't do it. BC, you picked Merab in your parlay, but you're going with a different side for your main event pick.
Yeah, I'm playing both sides. I'm hedging the bushes out front. I'm doing whatever you want to call it. But here's the deal. This is going to be a close fight. And you guys identified perfectly how sneaky close that first one really was, even though we all remember Merab controlling, some people even saying dominating, which I don't think is true. There are some things to really remember, though, about what happened last fall. One is the hip injury, the torn labrum that O'Malley needed surgery on, chose to delay it and take the fight. Look, there's a lot of pressure on these UFC fighters to hold these main events, hold their spots. I think that was a miss in hindsight. He believed in his striking. He believed that would be enough. What's going to be the difference this time when he can move? And you have to recall that in the 5th round of their first fight was when he did his best work. He hurt Merab with a flying knee, hurt him to the body. It looked like he was putting together a rally. I do think you have to add that to the mindset shift that O'Malley is doing. Sometimes, yes, it's just talk pre-fight, but to hear O'Malley say, look, I believed in the sugar persona too much. I was drinking my own juice. I was only trying to be a celebrity and be it all. Now, what has he done in this training camp? Very famously, giving up podcasting, which he did on a daily basis, giving up smoking marijuana, which had been a big part of his brand and his persona, and becoming celibate to a large degree to try to really focus in on that Spartan lifestyle and get after it. Do I believe he's really still one of the elites, one of the pound for pound 15 to 20 best? I do. I do believe that was somewhat of an aberration. So it's hard not to take a deep 3, a heat check here, and go plus 600 on O'Malley by decision. Because here's the deal. Even in my heart of hearts, if I'm leaning Merab, I know it's going to be closer than it was the first time around. I love everything that Merab brings to the table. He's so unique. He's leveled his striking up almost like late career Habib to at least make it workable and usable for him to set up what he does best, which is just spam you with pressure and the threat of the takedowns. Will O'Malley's back be on the canvas at times? Yes, it happens against Merab. But I do think Merab, when you look closer, my colleague on Morning Combat, Luke Thomas, did from the idea of the top control, Merab is a little bit of a staller when he gets you there. Doesn't really put you in a ton of danger on the ground, whether we're talking about ground or pound or submission. If O'Malley can sort of hold serve, get back up on his feet, and then really just outwork him, land the better strikes, show more movement, you can hurt Merab. He is a physical machine. He's almost impossible to finish. Marlon Moraes came close before Merab finished him for his only stoppage win. But Merab is a decision machine. You know he's going to be there in round 5. And even though that cardio can surprise some people, like it did unbeaten Umar Nurmagomedov in his first title defense early this year, I don't think O'Malley's going to be surprised this time around. He's got 5 rounds of experience against him. He's an exceptional striker, and a lot of his game is built on timing and deception, which is hard to do when you're nursing an injury. One more thing. I hate excuses, but that sphere card was a little bit weird, right? It's not a typical lighting grid above you. It's not the normal experience. O'Malley's coach, Tim Welch, did say they had a hard time picking up in the shadows of the flashing lights, the strikes coming at him. We saw a similar thing happen in boxing on May 2nd with that big card in Times Square, which produced 2 of the worst fights in CompuBox recorded history. I talked to some people that were there. They just said, look, the flashing lights of the screens around them, it was just an abnormal situation. All of that tells me O'Malley's going to be more competitive. But if he's going to win here, people don't finish Merab. It's going to be by decision. Let me shoot that one from deep, and I think I got a good chance of cashing that in if it doesn't go Merab's way here. Let's do this thing.
Wow. Legendary take from BC on the O'Malley decision. I love it all. And look, let me speak from personal experience as a guy who's been PTing a partially torn labrum in his hip for the last 4 years. I don't want to get surgery. It's so annoying. I mean, this thing sucks. So to try to, balance is a key issue. I'm shifting my weight, always trying to fire different muscles to compensate for the side that O'Malley's no way he was going to be able to defend those takedowns against Merab. And he couldn't even properly train his wrestling defense. So yes, the Merab, the machine style, it just gets all over you and he makes it, he neutralizes you. He keeps you stuck in defense. But O'Malley always got to do is get that engine started a little bit more. 1 round difference. and he can take this fight. I also believe it will go to decision. I think the precision striker O'Malley can look to work the body a little more. We talked about that teep to the body that hurt him late in that 5th round. He really had him there. Merab's cardio is incredible. Cardio is married to your chin. The guys have the elite cardio, also have the granite chins, and you got to hit him to the body to deplete both of those. You're not going to put him out. Like you said, the Marlon Moraes fight, if you haven't seen that one, go back and watch that fight. It's absolute pandemonium. He can't get knocked out. Like some guys have no neck and they can't get choked. Merab can't get knocked out. He's got the steel chin. I think work to the body will serve O'Malley very well, and I think he can reclaim this title. The skeptic in me also, guys, says that the UFC doesn't want another wrestler and grappler as champion. The UFC, doing their big deal with Netflix and these huge media companies, maybe wants the Sugar Show back on the front cover, so to speak. And of course, Claudia, we could set up the trilogy with the win. I know maybe just skeptical angles, but any thoughts on those?
Look at you guys with your little tinfoil hats, with the lights and the storylines of UFC, the celibacy. Didn't Tiger Woods go celibate? How did that work out for him?
No bueno.
He hasn't made the cut. Yeah, no, I think we're all on the same page here. I do like that angle BC is taking, though. I think with a lot of these where we do have the heavy favorites, you just have to try and find different markets to where you can sort of middle it. So in the end, I call it like emo hedging in a way.
I absolutely love it, guys. Wow, great main event discussion. And let's close the show with our best bet on the entire card. Before we do that, guys, well, you got to be on SportsLine to get all the analysts' plays. So much value. And if you want to do that, check out the promo code we've got for it. 60% off with code WINNERS for your first year. You're getting MLB analysis, NBA analysis, UFC, so much more. Articles, DFS slates. And you can get access to the SportsLine Discord, which has all the analysts firing off at all times as well. Great discussion there. Join me in the Combat Sports channel for some UFC talk. Get involved with SportsLine. Use that code WINNERS, and you'll be a winner. Let's get into our best bets now, guys. And man, there is some unanimous decisions going on here. I love this kumbaya moment that we can all have. I'll spoil the party that we're all in agreement. Claudia, kick it off for us. Who do we love as our best bet?
Patchy Mix, baby. Give it to us. He's already a fan favorite. I love it. And he's a favorite in the market, too. A lot of respect from the sharps here. Steady money coming in on his side. And I think a lot of it obviously has to do with his skill. But this guy has so much confidence. And I suppose you would if you're a 3-time Bellator world champ. But the way that he talks about himself, I'm like, yeah, I want to put my money on this guy. As he says, he's a round removed from being 21-0 undefeated. He has an 80% finish rate. He said he's going up against a journeyman. I don't think his opponent really liked that one. We know that they're both great MMA fighters. We know Bautista's on that 7-fight win streak. But Patchy has the skill and the overall fighting experience with 7 straight wins himself, as you mentioned, that justifies, I think, the price on him. And I think it justifies drinking the juice here. I usually don't go somewhere around -175, but I don't want to get too cute. I'm just going to go with him to win this one straight up.
I love it. Making a splash from Bellator. And BC, there's a big narrative. The Bellator guys stink, man. They're not up to par with the UFC guys. So he's looking to avenge the loss. Patricio Pitbull just came in, got dominated by Yair, right? What do you think of this Bellator PFL guy looking to make a splash in the UFC's maybe best division at bantamweight?
I think this was the best thing that could have happened to this division, to the UFC, to have this free agent like Aaron Pico before him, who's yet to debut, just fall in their lap, because PFL, upon acquiring the Bellator roster, just didn't know what to do with these great fighters. Unfortunately, it's UFC's gain. But here's the deal. 2 7-fight win streaks against each other. I just don't think Bautista's a great fighter. I think he's good to very good. Yes, he has the victory over Jose Aldo, but it was a horrific fight. There's an argument on the other side for Aldo to win. And I just think the way Bautista behaved in that fight, the biggest fight of his career, was such a letdown to his IQ, to his urgency, to everything that went on there. He tried to win it basically as boring as possible. The guys he's beat before that, even though he can be a fun action fighter, they're just not on the level of Patchy Mix. And of the people that have made the leap that you mentioned over the years from Bellator, it could be feast or famine. Remember Will Brooks? You probably don't, because he was famine in the UFC. But we've seen Eddie Alvarez come over, Michael Chandler. We've seen this happen before. Patchy Mix is the goods. He's of that ilk. He's also in a great power couple, by the way, with Tatiana Suarez, the former UFC title challenger. So my point here is that he gets access to the greatest of training and sparring. He's put in time with the champ Merab Dvalishvili in the past. I covered him extensively in Bellator. And if you have the belief, if you didn't watch him, that, oh, he's just beating up on second level competition, That's not the case. Bellator put their best bantamweights together for a $1 million tournament. It was one of those times where they had an argument to say, we might have a group of guys 1 through 6 or 7 that are on par with the UFC. He beat Kyoji Horiguchi, one of the best lower weight fighters in the world. He put Magomedov to sleep. He beat Rafion Stotts, Sergio Pettis. This guy is absolutely great. And not only am I going to take him to win like you guys and really believe in it, I'm going to try to get a little more and go plus 200 on the submission. Bautista is battle tested, but he was submitted by Corey Sandhagen in his UFC debut, who's certainly an elite bantamweight. The thing is, I really believe Patchy Mix is already an elite bantamweight and will quickly prove that and quickly put himself in position to actually get a very quick title shot, even though the depth is huge in this division. He's motivated. He's ready. And if anybody saw his one PFL fight, a rematch with Magomedov, a fight that really made no sense, he looked human. It was weird. It was odd. He was looking for an opportunity in the PFL that didn't really come to him. Throw that one out. Watch his run before that, and you're going to see a world-class fighter who's raised his striking to another level, but submitting is his calling card. He can do it multiple ways. He's nasty, and he goes from thought to position to tap in almost record time. He's a killer, guys. Take him big, however you want him. I'm going to go plus 200 on the submission.
So savvy with his grappling. You're going with a 2-to-1 shot by sub, and he's going to have grappling chances, right? These guys will exchange. They're going to tangle. Bautista's got this physicality to him that I agree. My best bet is Patchy Mix too, because I think he can match that physicality. Claudia, tinfoil hat back on. To me, this feels like a punishment for that Jose Aldo fight. Like, how dare you do that to a Hall of Famer? How dare you just neutralize him and keep him stuck in the clinch? I thought Aldo won that fight, by the way. I thought we were scoring damage over control these days, but that never pans out. In any case, now they give him someone who can match him, right? His equal in that grappling department. I think if Patchy Mix ends up on top, he stays on top for the round. His back takes are lethal. He's got a nasty squeeze on that rear naked choke. And if he finds it, like BC said, I think he squeezes it up, and that's that. So I think he'd win this fight by submission. If Bautista can hang in there with him, I think he just gets controlled and out-grappled. And Patchy Mix makes a name for himself in a major way. All right, guys, excellent discussion on this UFC 316 card. Before we go, BC, I do have to get your take. Vasily Lomachenko retires, and he's personally my favorite boxer to ever grace the ring. He made me want to study boxing, just a magician with his footwork. I know you're a boxing insider. I got to get your take. Thoughts on an amazing career by Vasily?
I wanted more. I wanted more from the great Loma, but I understand in his late 30s, always taking on big competition. But look, we're looking at one of the most decorated combined amateur and pro boxers in the history of the sport. He was something like 396-1 as an amateur, and the only loss he avenged twice. He won the gold medal at the 2009 and 2011 World Championships. He won gold at the 2008 and 2012 Olympics. And then he goes into the pros looking to make history. He signed with Bob Arum Top Rank. Why? Because he wanted to fight for a title in his pro debut. They couldn't get him that. He got screwed in his second career fight when he lost the title fight to Orlando Salido by bad decision after getting punched below the belt about 15 times. But what did he do after that? 3 months later, he beat unbeaten Gary Russell Jr. for a vacant featherweight title. He won a second title in a second division in his 7th pro fight. He became a 3-division champion by his 10th fight. He unified the titles there. He defeated 4 straight lightweights, a division where he was maybe 2 divisions over his head in size, by forcing them to retire on their stool. These are elite guys I'm talking about. It gave him that extra nickname of Nomaschenko, just from the creativity standpoint, hand speed, foot speed, defense. One of the most skilled fighters coming out of that great Ukrainian national system, which gave us Alexander Usyk and many other great champions. This is one of the greats of all time. His only 3 pro losses came in very highly disputed decisions. I would have loved for him to fight every great fighter of this era. It didn't happen, but this guy became must-see TV no matter who he fights. And you know that's rare in the boxing game. Gennady Golovkin was like that. There's a lot of heavyweights like that. It didn't matter who Loma was fighting. You tuned in and watched. Respect to the great champion.
Oh my God, I'm so happy I went to you for that. I have goosebumps. That was incredible, BC. I love Loma. He will be missed. Claudia, where can we find you? Are you going to be around on CBS Sportsline? Tell the folks where you can see you next.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, Bellofatto TV. I'm on CBS, NBC Sports. I do a few other hits and shows. I'm doing some F1 stuff, NBA, NHL. So just go find me on Twitter, and I'll post where I'm at. Hopefully a lot more of CBS, though.
Super sharp mind. I've seen you cover every sport and do it really well. So love the follow. Make sure you guys do that. Make sure you're locked in with BC, and make sure you're locked in on these UFC preview shows with the Early Edge. We're here every pay-per-view, and we're back for another one. So thank you so much for tuning in, and glove up for the next one, guys. On behalf of Brian Campbell, Claudia Bellofatto, I'm Danny Brasco. We'll see you for the next one. Cheers.